So as for the question, would I recommend the book? If it isn't obvious already, absolutely. I was so relieved that it was worth the hype. Hi everyone, my name is Tara Westwell and today is Tuesday, which means it's time to discuss our Panic at the Book Club book of the week, which is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. If you like romance, fantasy, or even thriller, basically anything fiction book related, then I suggest you head on over to the channel's intro video, where you can find out more information on how you can take part in this online book club. We announce books at least 4 weeks in advance, and we accept your bookish feedback in a wide manner of ways. Post your comment below a video, send in a voice note, or even send me a short video clip of you discussing the book. Alternatively, you can just send me a direct message. 24-year-old Ceres is good at keeping secrets. Nobody knows about her strange powers, or the fact that she's been picking pockets and stealing from the Undying Queen's reservoir since as long as she can remember. But a secret is kind of like a knot. Sooner or later, it's bound to come undone. When Ceres comes face to face with Death himself, she reopens a gateway between realms and is transported to a land of snow and ice. The Fae have always been the stuff of myth and legends and nightmares, but it turns out they're very real, and Ceres has landed herself in the middle of a centuries-long conflict that might just get her killed. The first of her kind to tread the frozen mountains in over 1,000 years, Ceres mistakenly binds herself to the Kingfisher, a handsome warrior Fae who has secrets and nefarious agendas of his own. He will use her magic to protect his people, no matter what it costs him. Or her. So this is the spoiler-free part, where first we'll discuss any spoiler-free points, before moving on to a clearly marked section of the video, which will contain spoilers and more specifics about the book. I've got to say that after seeing this book absolutely everywhere, all over my social media, with everyone absolutely raving about it, I had really high hopes for it. And it did not disappoint. It is so worth the hype. So as usual, let's start with those chapter lengths. I think most of them were around the sort of 20-page mark, obviously give or take a few, which, to be honest, to me is a little on the lengthier side. However, it was so easy to read and I enjoyed it so much that I just barely even seemed to notice. It was magic, fae, and a little bit of spice, and I also think it was a brilliant example that a book can in fact still have vampires in it and it not feel cheesy. Which I think is quite impressive, because with the big spike of vampire literature in a lot of our teen years, I think it may have left a fair few of us with some untreated trauma. Look, we loved vampire books like 15 to 20 years ago, but after a while of them being just everywhere, it got a little bit too much. That being said, I really like the fact that we're seeing them more and more as a part of the narrative or to enhance a story instead of, being the main romantic focus. Much like The Serpent and the Wings of Night, or even something like Once Upon a Broken Heart. In this book, vampires are once again creatures you would think twice about befriending. I loved the characters, the world building, the romance, and the suspense, and I think it was just a great narrative that kept me hooked from the very beginning. I think it's great for someone who doesn't usually read this sort of genre or more serious fantasies, because it jumps into things pretty quickly. You don't have to wait like 6 chapters just for something to happen. I rated this book 5 stars because it immediately had me hooked. It had so many elements from some of my all-time favourite books. I think if you are considering giving this one a read, then please do, because it's so worth it. If I had to compare this to any other book, it would probably be a combination of some of my all-time favourite romanticises, so A Shadow in the Ember, the Plated Prisoner series, and A Serpent and the Wings of Night. I think if you're also a fan of the ACOTAR series, then this one would also work for you. Now we've reached that part of the video where I suggest if you haven't read this book yet, go do that first, because beyond this point there'll definitely be spoilers. I fell in love with that damn fox. Like, Onyx was a little sidekick that I never knew I needed. And can we all just take a moment to appreciate that Kingfisher accidentally brought back Carrie Swift instead of her loser brother? Because honestly, I could only really see him getting in the way or messing things up for Ceres. Like, she may have been worrying about his well-being while he was in the other world, but even if he was there with her, that wouldn't have changed, but she would have also have had to put up with his shit as well at the same time. At least Carrion was funny. Like, he was a really good side character that was easy to love. I also loved Kingfisher and their relationship progress. I mean, I can't resist an enemies to lovers, and I think that it was just really well paced. I feel like we didn't learn all that much about their magic system. I mean, they just sort of have it, and maybe, I don't know, maybe some are more powerful than others, maybe everyone doesn't have it, but I'm not entirely sure. However, I thought that the concept for this alchemist power was quite unique and interesting, and I really hope that we find out more about it in the next one. I think some elements were quite predictable. I mean, I think they made it quite clear that Kingfisher was with the vampires, and I did suspect some more involvement from the Queen, but I certainly didn't expect all of the twists. You know, I just kind of thought the king was shit, not that they were all in on it together. I didn't know why Kingfisher was with the vampires for so long, but it does make sense. You know, by the time you get to know the character well enough, that part of the plot really makes sense for who he is. So as for the question, would I recommend the book? If it isn't obvious already, absolutely. I was so relieved that it was worth the hype. It's a spicy, slow burn enemies to lovers with a great storyline and an interesting world building. Plus, it was packed with action, it had an adorable animal sidekick, a sassy companion, and it was still really easy and enjoyable to read. So, will I be reading any more by Callie Hart? Absolutely, I'm already really excited to read the next book in the series, although I know there's a lot of hope that it'll be coming out around November later on in the year, but I can't seem to find a strict date on exactly when we'll be expecting it, so I do have my fingers crossed. But let me know what you thought. Did you enjoy the book? Shelley said that she listened to this one as an audiobook. She said that the storyline was so gripping that it was just really easy to listen to. She loved the banter between the two characters, especially with how stubborn Ceres is. Plus, there were a few twists that she didn't see coming, which is always nice. She enjoyed visiting the different realms with Ceres as she found out about herself and where she should be. Shelley's next question is, when is the second book coming out, because she hopes it's soon. She would definitely recommend. Next week we'll be discussing The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay, so don't forget to get your thoughts and comments in by Sunday the 26th of January at the latest to be a part of the discussion. You can now do this on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram or Discord. The following week will be The Hating Game by Sally Thorne, but don't forget, if you do need a little bit longer to read a book, we do now list the next 4 books down below along with the discussion dates. That way you can choose the genre that best suits you and the best time frame to read it in. Thank you all for joining, and if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, it's always appreciated, and I will see you next week. Bye!